it's a gruesome situation, and it's exactly what they always accuse abortion providers of doing, harvesting baby parts. But here we are,
So,
gray
Kat,
mass
you
morning.
have been, I know, here we are. So, you have been tracking this organization called Red Rose Rescue. You have been tracking the organizations that have been working with them. Lay out for folks um, what they do and what their sort of mission is around these clinic invasions.
Sure. So, Red Rose Rescue is a number of folks that have been invading clinics with red roses, handing them out to patients, and refusing to leave the area of the clinic in order to intimidate patients into, well, it also shutting down the clinic effectively because for safety purposes, they need to lock out the clinic, evacuate any patients that are there, evacuate staff. So, this is terrorism. And Lauren Handy has worked with Red Rose Rescue in the past and now works with an organization called PAAU, Progressive Anti Abortion Uprising, that claim to be pro life feminists. And they're taking on a lot of the Red Rose tactics. They are doing pink rose rescues and being much more aggressive in terms of just going into medical facilities, invading hospitals, invading research facilities, and so that's where we get to the question of where did these fetuses come from? Who did they
I
steal them
know.
from, or pay for them, or we don't know.
Well, and I think the thing about this is that whenever they say, we've had access, it's always like they got a camera to look through a place where maybe products of conception are stored. And or so for me, I feel like it's very nefarious because the story we never talk about this stuff, right? But the truth be told, we know the scrutiny that abortion providers are under. We also know how medical facilities have to stay open when it comes to um, disposing of medical waste, and products of conception after an abortion is medical waste. You have to sterilize it. A company comes, takes it away, it goes away, and that's what happens. No clinic is like, I'm going to throw out my Chipotle and then, the day's procedures, because why would, because you can't, you would be shut down. So I guess I just feel like we have laws now that have fetal barrier and cremation, um, in states. Are the people running those like giving them to people? Like, how are they getting this stuff?
Well, also, I mean, it's part of a history of anti-abortion people misusing fetal remains, getting them through back channels and using them for propaganda. And I mean, Frank Pavone did it. He had a fetus on an altar in some ceremony to Trump back in like 2016. And
And he's the head of Priests for Life. For those of you who don't know who Frank
right,
Pavone is, Priests for Life.
right. Members of Red Rose Rescue have bragged about stealing many fetal remains over the years. And Monica Miller just recently put up a bunch of videos on YouTube of remains she had gotten last July from God knows where. So
Well,
there's
that's the
a
whole
lot of.
thing. God knows where.
Mhm. I mean, we know it's not a dumpster, right? So they make up stories about getting fetuses out of a dumpster or a dog brought it to them but we know that's not true. So the unfortunate reality is somebody in the chain with access to these things, if it's at a facility that's being where things are being disposed of, if it's a transfer facility, if it's somebody at a hospital where there is a research facility, somebody is helping these people.
This is the cops that you're looking at right now taking it out of Lauren Handy's home. And I think that even
In a
when we
cooler.
see in a cooler and in a hazmat bag, and I want to say too, if there has been instances of finding fetuses in dumpsters, I'm sure they acquired the fetuses from someplace else and then placed them in the dumpster of a clinic to say they found them in a dumpster, because it's ludicrous to even think that is so. And so getting ahead of this story before they do, because clearly if this one person, Lauren Handy, has uh, acquired fetuses from some back channel of anti-abortion medical places, whether it's anti-abortion researchers or whoever, she's not the only person that has these. She's
Oh,
not right.
absolutely not. Well, yeah, I mean, that's where people have gotten these images to put on the giant posters that you see out in front of places. But the other thing that I'm concerned about is I'm worried that the anti-abortion movement is going to paint Lauren Handy as an outlier because they moved into an organization that claimed to be more progressive, because they have, just been sort of a little bit different than the normal people that work in the anti-abortion movement. But Lauren is exceptionally well connected. I don't want anybody to get away with saying that they're an outlier, because Lauren's worked with Red Rose Rescue. Lauren, this arrest this week with the federal case, there was a former member of Army of God there. They've worked with this PAAU group. They've worked with survivors of the abortion Holocaust. They've participated in at least 12 acts of violence against clinics in the last 3 years. And so it's it's a pattern, and this is part of it. And somebody is paying for them to travel all over the country and harass people.
Yeah, and who is that? Because they travel in sometimes very large packs. They have to be very well organized. And so it really feels like questions that I would love media who have more resources than us to be asking is, how are these people funded? How is it that it took this long for the FBI to finally arrest them when they have done several of these, breaking face violations, breaking a lot of violations of privacy in a medical facility? And also, where are they getting these fetuses? Because the clinics live in the light. I have to tell you, and we have to go, and I hate that, but we have been to so many clinics. Abortion Access Front has toured and seen how they actually go through a procedure and what that looks like in over 75 clinics. And none of this has any truth in reality. So we did a big Twitter thread, do that. But if we're going to be following the story, make sure you follow us as we go further and further down this path, and demand that the media covers it, because this is really important. Kat, thank you for actually following the story. You saw it for us. You flagged it this morning. We were the first ones on it. So thank you, ma'am.
Thanks so much.
Watch Feminist Buzzkills live. When BS is poppin', we pop off. New episodes drop Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the Abortion Access Front YouTube page. Like and subscribe.